So just kind of some general information. The most recent update to CRC was the CWT update, which included ATPA and a few other changes. We'll see that when we get into the STARS section. But CWT is basically consolidated wake turbulence. Before we had conventional wake turbulence, and now we have CWT, which is more efficient than the conventional wake turbulence separation rules. It basically allows us to run aircraft tighter, more airplanes in the airspace than we were able to run before. And the order that covers that is the 7110 or 7110.3, I believe it is. Am I saying that wrong? I'm sorry. It's the 7110.126. That's the order that covers the CWT. It's been around for quite a while. This year, they're supposed to integrate it into the 7110.65. And so by the end of the year, that'll probably be sort of the standard across the board for every facility. I think all facilities right now are complying with it anyway. So we'll just kind of cover some of the basic wake turbulence stuff and the differences between them as we go along. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time here. I'm not going to cover every single operation, but we'll just kind of hit the standard operations that we typically see here on the network, and we'll hit that. It shouldn't take more than 15 or so minutes to kind of go through this. It'll be a good refresher as well for those who need to refresh on some wake turbulence stuff. We'll start here at the tower environment. So what exactly did we do here? So basically, we've taken the conventional wake turbulence aircraft categorization, small, large, heavy, and super, and we've broken them down into A through I. And you can kind of see the breakdown here of the different aircraft. So your A is your super, which is very rare. You don't really see that very often. Your B is your upper heavy, your C is your lower heavy, and then you have a D that's a non-pairwise heavy. The only category E airplane that we have is a Boeing 757. So if you see an E, you automatically know it's a 757. And then you've got your upper large, lower large, upper small, and lower small as the I. So a few things to take away from this table, really. As the letters go up, you have the larger the aircraft, basically. So I is the smallest airplanes that we have. A is the largest aircraft that we have. The higher the letter, the more wake it's going to generate. So another thing to take away from this table is we're still using the same nomenclature when you are talking to an airplane, right? You call it a heavy or you call it a super. Your B, C's, and D's are your heavy. So if you see a B, a C, or a D, you're going to refer to that as a heavy aircraft. If you see an A, you're going to call it a super. So what are some of the benefits of CWT? Obviously, we talked about running airplanes tighter. In most cases, the separation requirements have decreased with CWT in terms of wake turbulence because instead of just having one category of aircraft we call heavy, we now have, like I said, 3 different heavies. And so, some heavies are going to have less required wake turbulence separation behind it than others. Another benefit is, now that with CWT, you have all of the categories actually printed on the strip and also in the STARS data blocks. So there's no need to really know what category, what a heavy is and what a small is and what a small plus is. You don't need to know that on an airplane by airplane basis. You have the tools at your fingertips to really know that immediately. So one example of something that's changed here that we can see an efficiency on, as well as some of the benefits. I've got pictures of 2 different aircraft here. The one on the bottom left here is a King Air 200, and we've got a Bonanza here. Now, under conventional wake turbulence separation rules, the King Air 200 is a small plus. The Bonanza is a small. And so if we departed this airplane from a intersection, if we departed this airplane from the full length and we departed this Bonanza from the intersection, under conventional wake turbulence rules, this Bonanza would have to wait 3 minutes for wake turbulence. Well, under CWT, this King Air 200, even though it's still a small plus in the old school wake turbulence, it is actually an I. So we have an I and an I here. There's no wake turbulence involved between these two airplanes. And back in the day, you had to know. Oh, I know a King Air 200 is a small plus. There's nothing that really told you that other than just you knowing that or memorizing it or having to look in a book somewhere. Now we know it's an I because it's right on the strip and it's eye to eye, no wake involved. It's the same category aircraft. And here's an example of the strips. So you're seeing that now on the strips. You have the B down there. That's a B category for a 777, and the F for the A321. If you knew nothing about those airplanes, you know that you have a larger aircraft departing in front of a smaller aircraft, and there's going to be some kind of a wake turbulence involved there. All right, so we'll kind of cover some basic operations that we run, and we'll just run through these because this is going to be reviewed for most people, but we're just kind of getting people used to seeing the letters instead of dealing with the old school, large, heavy, super. We'll kind of go through the order here really quickly. One thing that we mentioned before, and I'll mention again, is that for what we'll cover here in the next few slides, you can use the distance minima as opposed to the time. We'll see that table here as we go further along. Separate an aircraft taken off from the same runway or parallel runway separated by less than 2,500 feet. So that's what this operation is here. We have a large followed by a departing behind a heavy there. He rotates. This is the same runway. Category B, C, D, E, F, G, H, or I. So anything departing behind a super, we give 3 minutes. And anything departing behind a B or a D, we get 2 minutes. And of course, again, we're having anything E, F, G, H, or I departing behind a C, 2 minutes. We get into the 757 rules. These are the same. We're separating the I from the E. So only thing that a 757 affects is an I by 2 minutes when departing the same runway or parallel runway separated by less than 700 feet. We're also separating them by 2 minutes if the flight paths are going to cross after a departure. So that's with the 757 and a small. It's an E to an I there. Okay, so now we're getting into projected flight paths crossing. Pretty much the same thing as conventional wake turbulence. We're dealing with the same separation requirements here. Anything behind an A. I'm sorry, we're a little bit further ahead here. Yeah, anything behind an A, 3 minutes. Anything behind a B or a D, 2 minutes. And anything following a C, or I'm sorry, an E, F, G, H, or I following a C, you need 2 minutes behind that. We're not going to cover displaced landing threshold wake turbulence stuff because we don't really see that on the network very much, and we won't cover opposite direction stuff either. So we get to intersection departures, separation with a heavy jet or with a super. So we're separating an I taken off from an intersection on the same runway behind a category F, G, or H. So a larger aircraft departs full length and you have an I at the intersection, we need 3 minutes. If we've got a category I taken off from an intersection when an E departs from the full length, we need 3 minutes. If it's the same runway or if it's a parallel runway separated by less than 700 feet. Same thing with conventional wake turbulence. We're just using the letters instead of the other nomenclature. And then we get into the heavies here. Separate aircraft departing from an intersection on the same runway or parallel runway separated by less than 2,500 feet. Because we're dealing with heavies, we are using that 2,500 feet there. Anything behind an A, 4 minutes. Anything behind a B or a D, 3 minutes. And then you have the same thing, E, F, G, H, or I behind a category C, 3 minutes. And finally, we'll cover this intersecting runway or intersecting flight path operation. So this is where we talked about you having to use we could use the mileage on those last few slides. This is where we can't really use mileage anymore. We're using time exclusively here. So we're separating aircraft taking off or landing behind a departing aircraft on an intersecting runway if flight paths will cross. So this is for intersecting runways or runways that don't intersect, but the flight paths cross on departure. Anything behind a super, we need 3 minutes from the point at which the flight paths cross. I'm sorry, this time begins from when the aircraft begins the takeoff roll, as the note says here. So when the aircraft begins the takeoff roll, you start that 3 minute timer there for the super. Or if it's behind a B or a D, it's 2 minutes. Or again, E, F, G, H, or I, 2 minutes as well. If we have a 7.5 involved and an I is departing behind it, 2 minutes from the departure roll there. So this is a similar operation, actually the same operation as what we have at Memphis here. So I thought I would cover this just for some familiarity. A heavy departs runway 27 and rotates prior to the intersection of the extended center line of, or the departure path of 36 center, we'll say. And you have anything else departing, let's say you have let's say you have a category B departing 27, say 777, and you have a category C smaller aircraft departing 36 center. If the 777 rotates prior to that extended departure path there, then that is something that requires wake turbulence. So you would need that 2 minutes there from the time at which the 27 departure begins their takeoff roll. We look at that the other way with arrivals here. So same thing with arrivals. Basically, if your departure is rotating prior to the intersection of where the arrival is going to cross, then you need the same thing. You need 3 minutes behind the heavy, 3 minutes behind the super, 2 minutes behind the B or the D with everything. And then same thing with the E, F, G, H, or I behind a C, and so on and so forth. Operation at Memphis for this, you have a 1-8 right arrival. You have a category B departing 27. He crosses through the flight path of the 1-8 right arrival. That 1-8 right arrival gets that wake turbulence separation there. Okay, so the table that we use in the tower is this one here. We're using the wake turbulence separation for directly behind. We've got these on the ZME site. You can just download it. You can print them, actually. I've got some sort of ID card size ones that, that are smaller, that are used more for like a quick reference. But there's also the full size charts on there as well. So this is what we're using in the tower for the distance minima. So this distance is needs to be there when the following aircraft rotates or becomes airborne. So really what that means for us is that when you see it pop up on the radar, you should have the distance minima. So reading this is really simple. You look at the leader aircraft first, and then look at the follower. So if you have a B departing 36 left, and you have a C departing behind it, then 4 miles is what you need behind that. By the time that C gets airborne, you should have 4 between the two aircraft. What is operating? So this is getting more into the TRACON stuff. We're kind of transitioning to approach control stuff for the most part. What does operating directly behind mean exactly? Well, it's an operation within 2,500 feet of the flight path of the aircraft and less than 1,000 feet below. So if they are 1 foot above that aircraft, not really 1 foot, but if they're 100 feet above, then that's technically not operating directly behind because they're above the flight path. Remember, wake turbulence goes out and down. So this graphic really just shows what exactly that means. You've got the heavy out in front. There's a line that's drawn out behind it, and you've got 2,500 feet on either side of that flight path that we're dealing with the wake turbulence in. So you can see the large is crossing behind. You've got your minima that it shows there. It's showing 5 miles. But if they're going to cross anywhere inside of 5 miles through that shaded area there, then that's considered operating directly behind if they're less than 1,000 feet below. And just to kind of hit on that further, example of some operating directly behind compared to not operating directly behind heavy. So you can see you've got some aircraft that are outside of this 2,500 foot path that can be closer. We just need standard radar separation with this aircraft, for example, or this aircraft. You can see the 3 miles there behind the heavy. But anywhere within our separation minimum, which in this case is showing 5 miles, and you've got to have that separation minimum. So here's what we're using on for approach in addition to our directly behind table. I want to kind of cover the difference on this because there's some confusion on this stuff. Even in the real world, we see confusion on it. Wake turbulence separation on approach. What exactly does on approach mean? Some people think it means that when you clear them for the approach, they have to have this minima met. And that is actually not the case. So on approach, this table specifically means that the aircraft, the leading aircraft, when they cross the landing threshold, has to have, I'm sorry, that's not really the correct way to say it. So when the leading aircraft crosses the landing threshold, the following aircraft has to be this distance behind. And only when that lead aircraft crosses the threshold does this distance have to be met. So I'll give you an example. We'll go back to this other table really quick here. Let's say you have a B on a B being vectored in front of an I. We'll say so you got a 777, for example, going into 3-6 left, and there's a little Cessna out following it. You can have him 5 miles behind if they're directly behind on the localizer. You can put that Cessna 5 miles behind that B and be totally fine. You can be totally legal with that. They can both be cleared for the approach as long as the Cessna is 5 miles behind. But by the time that 777 crosses the landing threshold, that Cessna has to be 6 miles behind. And we're giving that, what that's doing is basically it's allowing the wake to dissipate from the 777 so that when the Cessna lands, he's not affected by wake turbulence. So just keep that in mind when you're using these tables. This is only for when that aircraft crosses the threshold that these have to be met. But we're dealing with that pretty much exclusively when we're vectoring for approaches. And this is also what ATPA is going to show you as well. So keep that in mind. In that example case, if you got your Cessna 5 behind, it's going to have a red bat there. We'll talk about the colors and stuff in a moment. But you're going to have, it's going to be yelling at you saying, you don't have separation, you're not going to have separation, whatever. But just kind of keep that in mind that you don't have to have the 6 until he crosses the threshold. So kind of look at ATPA now here, kind of finishing up the PowerPoint. This is sort of a view. Let me see if I'll just make this full screen here so people can see it easier. There's a few components of ATPA. So first of all, we'll just kind of cover what is ATPA. ATPA is Automatic Terminal Proximity Alert. And it's a tool used to measure, or to monitor, I should say, separation on final. And this is really beneficial for airports that have long finals. So, at Memphis, our final can be 25, 30 miles out. You could have, 6, 7, 8, 9 airplanes lined up on final. And this tool really does help to sort of manage that monitoring of spacing on your final. So there's a few components of ATPA. One is the what we call the TPA cones. Now, TPA cones are sort of a standard feature of stars. You can put them on any airplane, doing the splat P and then a number. But ATPA automates that process. So ATPA is going to add a TPA cone based on the aircraft it thinks it's following to the runway. So if we look at the example image here, I'll use FedEx 1201 Heavy as an example. It's a C following a B, which requires 4 miles of wake turbulence separation. So it automatically is putting that 4-mile TPA cone on there. And we're also getting a mile in trail distance between FedEx 1201 and FedEx 8. We can see that in the bottom left of his tag. So FedEx 1201 is 6.06 miles behind FedEx 8, and we need 4. So when I'm looking at this final, it's really easy for me to tell without having to wait to see what the speed, wait to see the speed cycle, or not really knowing what the compression is. I can just look at that number because that number is always displayed there, and I can see if it's ticking down, if it's going 6.06, 0.05, 0.03. I know that airplane is gaining on the airplane ahead of it really easily. At Memphis and Nashville, the way that we have these configured is you're going to basically, if they're within 90 degrees of the final heading, so if they're within 90 degrees, if they're on a 270 heading or a 90 heading in reference to the parallels there, you'll get that cone that'll pop up, and it's going to point to the airplane in front of it. And it's going to continue until the front airplane drops off. You can see up at the top of the box there, 1266, he doesn't have a cone because the aircraft in front of it has already landed. So it just kind of disappears if there's nobody that it's following. Let's talk a little about the different cones. So we had the blue cones, which are the monitor cones. Kind of as the name implies, they're just monitor tools. You're just, there's nothing particular going on. That's just what you need. And it's kind of allowing you to visually gauge how much additional space that you have. We have warning cones. Warning cones are yellow. And a warning cone is going to display when you're predicted to lose the allowable separation within 45 seconds. So in this example, SkyWest and United, they're on final. The system is predicting that SkyWest is going to lose the required separation with the aircraft it's following within 45 seconds. So when you get those yellow cones, basically that's a cue to take some kind of action, potentially. You want to look at it. You want to say, did I forget to slow them down? Did United slow more than I expected? And you want to take some sort of correction, whether that's, hey, Sky, maybe you're using 170 on final and you get the yellow cone. Maybe you need to pull SkyWest back to 160. But it definitely means, hey, take a look at this. There's some sort of overtake happening. It's going to clue you into that. Now, if you don't do anything and the overtake is good enough, you're going to get an alert cone. And an alert cone is red. The cone will change red as well as the in-trail distance there. And what that's telling you is that it's predicted to lose separation within 24 seconds. So when you get a red cone, you really need to take action. You don't have a lot of time. We see these a lot when, for example, if you're running them really tight and they're like the leading aircraft is on like short final, you may get a red cone. And in that case, it's fine. I say these things, but keep in mind that, if an aircraft is about to land and you get a red cone, you don't need to like freak out and pull SkyWest all the way back or send them around or something. Because it's turning red. It doesn't understand that, okay, yeah, you're gonna lose separation within 24 seconds, but the plane's gonna land in 10 seconds. So you're not gonna actually lose separation. So keep that in mind. But if you see a red, and they're on final, that something's, you probably, honestly, if you're running instruments or something like that, and if this were to happen like on a 10 or 15-mile final, I would be breaking SkyWest out if I didn't have another form of separation. If I couldn't use visual following or some other method of separation, I would be breaking him out at that point. That would be a good cue to do that. So it's crucial for ATPA to work to use standard scratch pad entry. So I know in the past we haven't been too picky on scratch pads. People kind of use their own thing. They're in the SOP, but we didn't really follow them strictly. Now we really have to use them. I can't stress that enough. They're not that difficult to remember. Just kind of once you see the format of how they're used, it'll kind of stick with you. They're not super complicated. But these are in the SOP for both Memphis and Nashville. This is the Memphis scratch pads. We did change these recently um, to coincide with a real world change, but also because we were configuring this ATPA system. So um, at Memphis, it's really easy. So visual approaches, it's just the runway: 1-8 left, 1-8 center, 1-8 right, 3-6 left, center right, 9-2-7. Really, really easy there. If you're running a visual approach, that should be what's in the scratch pad. If you're running instrument approaches, doesn't matter if it's the RNAV or the ILS, you replace the LC and R, left, center, and right, with an east, middle, and west. So 1-8 east. So just think of that. That's the east runway. 1-8 M, that's the middle runway. 1-8 W, that's the west runway. And then you just put an N after the 9 and the 2-7. 9N, 2-7N. N being the runway 2-7 final. It's the N final. We call it the N position. So those are really important to use because ATPA actually looks at those. And if you don't have those in there, it'll get confused at what plane it's following. So if you have like parallel finals going and you have some weird stuff in your scratch pad, the plane may actually not point to the aircraft it's following in front of it on the same final. It may actually point to the aircraft that's on the adjacent final, and it may give you like a red cone and freak out and do all kinds of weird stuff. So important to use these scratch pads so that it knows which runway they're going to. Continuing on the scratch pads, this is again for Memphis. There are certain scratch pad entries that will inhibit the ATPA cones. So, for example, and this is for the secondary scratch pad here at Memphis, or the Y plus scratch pad. If you get visual following with an aircraft, so if you have that Cessna following that 777, and you call the traffic to him and you say, "Hey, traffic's 12 o'clock, 5 miles, heavy Boeing 777 at 3,000." They say, "Yeah, we got him in sight." And you tell them, "Cessna 123, follow the heavy Boeing 777, cleared visual approach, runway 36 left, caution wake turbulence." You put that VF in that tag, that secondary scratch pad, it will inhibit that TPA cone, because at that point when we're instructing the aircraft to follow, we're relieving ourselves of the separation and putting it on the pilot. So they're going to see that airplane, they're going to stay slightly above it, they're going to land, slightly beyond it to avoid that wake turbulence. But putting that VF is important, because if not, it's going to be, you may get yellow or red. And then, and if you're thinking in terms of real world settings, you may have a supervisor say, "Hey, you going to do something about those guys?" And you're like, "Oh, well, yeah, my guy's got him in sight. How does he know?" Well, he's got VF in the tag. He's visual following the aircraft in front of it. These others don't do anything for ATPA, but they are in there, to be used. Cleared visual approach, when you clear someone, you use the VA. It's not really mandatory, but it does help the other final. And then, maintaining visual from the nearest aircraft on the adjacent final, BVS. Again, those don't affect ATPA. It's only the VF that does. Moving on to Nashville really quick. Nashville's got a different, sort of method for their scratch pads, but it's still very similar, and it's really what most people I think have been using at Nashville anyway. The way this is laid out, we have 3 different characters that we could use in the scratch pad. The first character is going to be the type of approach. So V for visual, I for ILS, Z, G, or L for those appropriate approaches there. And then we have an optional, additional info second character. If you got an S in there, that just means they're maintaining visual separation. It's essentially the VF for Memphis. Only it's not in the secondary scratch pad. It's part of the primary scratch pad. So S for maintaining visual separation from the aircraft in front of it, or R for requesting a runway. We talked about this briefly. There were some questions about this, but basically this would be if, for example, if you're feeding final, right, and an aircraft comes in from the southwest. Let's say we're landing north at Nashville. An aircraft comes in on the Chesney arrival, and they say, hey, we're parking at, Signature. Any chance we can get 2 right? Well, normally you're not going to assign the runway opposite of, you're not going to assign the east runway if you're feeding the final as the west arrival controller. So one thing you may tell them is you may say, hey, citation 123, expect 2 left for now. I'll put the right side on request. You're going to let your final controller make that determination of whether or not he's going to, sequence him in with the other traffic, right? So in that case, you would put, visual for, you tell them expect a visual approach 2 left or whatever, visual requesting, and then you would select from your third option here, which would be, left, center, right, runway 31 or runway 13. So the runways here, it may be kind of confusing, but it's just the second number of the runway. So for 31 and 13, it's just either a 1 for 31 or 3 for 13. It's the second number of the runway. So you could end up with like a VRR. So visual, he's requesting runway 2 right. And your final controller will see that and he'll say, oh yeah, I can run him in a 2 right. Hey, citation, expect runway 2 right. And then he's going to update that tag to VR. That makes sense. ATPA, the S will affect the ATPA. Again, it's kind of like VF at Memphis. It will, if you have an S in there, it will inhibit the ATPA cone because it's you've gotten visual falling, or you've told them to maintain visual separation, or some other thing that would inhibit that separation requirement there. That is really it. I hope I didn't run through that too fast. I didn't want to spend like a ton of time on it, but I did want to kind of do a refresher / cover some of the differences. Do we have any questions from anybody on anything so far? Anybody want to put anything in the chat? Any questions? Henry, while we're waiting there, do you have anything to add? Anything that maybe I didn't cover there?
On the training side of things, if there are any S1s, S2s in here who haven't started training for the next rating, like this is all stuff that you'll see in your training. So like I wouldn't worry if stuff is unclear at the moment. And this is all newish stuff, but at the same time, like a lot of the stuff that Cardin mentioned about wake turbulence in the tower environment, like that's pretty much the same overall. It's just we use different terminology with the categories. Like we're not going to be saying, small, large, heavy. Well, we will still say heavy, but the categories are the A, B, C, D type stuff. So, I wouldn't stress too much. This is just new, exciting stuff. That once again, if you haven't started training for your rating, where this will be covered, like this will be in your training.
Yeah, and again, we kind of covered it at the beginning, but you're not going to see the H anymore for heavy. Matter of fact, if you see an H, it's definitely not a heavy; it's a small. So, but the thing to remember is if it's a B, C, or a D, it's a heavy. That's all. That's really all you need to know for saying. If you have an aircraft taxiing out, you want to refer to them as a heavy, obviously per the rules. If it's a B, C, or a D, it's a heavy. We don't really see Ds very much. It's mainly just B's and C's that we see. But if you see any of those letters, then you know it's a heavy, and you kind of just train your eyes to see that. That's like the new H that everyone sees on, that used to sing on the strips and in the data blocks and stuff. It's just that B, C, and D. Yeah. What aircraft is usually D? So we had let's see, in the order. They give some of the common types. It's not all the types, but they give some of the common types for each category. But yeah, D. In a lot of these we really don't see 747. Some of the smaller 747s, I believe, are Ds, like a 747 100 or a 300 are Ds. L1011, a lot of stuff that you don't really see a whole lot of. A 787 is a D. It's kind of surprising there. I'm sorry. No, this is specifically the 78X, whatever that is. The 78X is a D. The 787, 800, and 900 are Bs. Um, so yeah, stuff that we don't really see a lot. I mean, I don't. I could tell you maybe on, like, you know one hand how many of these airplanes I've worked before, both even on the network and in real life. You just don't really see, like, an Antonov 124. I don't think I've ever worked that plane before. So Ds are really not common. It's rare. It's kind of rare that we see Ds. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, Scott posted that in there. So yeah, those are like the common types. It's not all of them, but it's just kind of they're giving you an example of some of the different aircrafts that you're going to see in those categories. Yeah, Scott says, yeah, I know, commonly missed with new S2 students, the difference between time-based separation and radar-based separation, how that changed at all. So really, yeah, other than the actual for radar separation, so the time didn't change at all. We're still using the 4 minutes, the 3 minutes, and the 2 minutes, right? But for when we're using the radar separation standards for CWT, those are a lot. They can be lower. Sometimes they're not, but usually it's more efficient. There's less requirement for space there with that. You can use the radar minimum, so distance. You can use distance with everything except for intersection departures, opposite direction departures. Some of the stuff with, like, displaced thresholds we really don't deal with. So and operations involving um, crossing runways or crossing flight paths. Everything else you can use distance. And I really encourage people to use distance, because if you're using 2 minutes, um, or 3 minutes behind a super, if you're using that time, you're usually um, less efficient. You're having to have aircraft wait there because you're using basically non-radar rule, essentially, for same runway or parallel runways. So there's that. I would encourage people to use that distance, get comfortable using that distance. So we're gonna get into Sweatbox here. We'll run like a little ATPA demo here, so you can actually see it in use. We'll kind of try to get some examples of our warning cones and our alert cones here. Yeah, this will be good. Well, so what I think we should do here, let's see, we got what is this, 4 corners? Okay. So I say we do this. I say we'll run visual approaches. That way I can kind of run them pretty tight. And then, yeah, and they're going to be tagged for instruments, but we won't mess with changing the scratch pad, but just know they're tagged for instruments, but we're going to run visuals so we can. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Because you could technically still run ILSs and have visual following. It's not very common, but you could still technically have that. Yeah. FedEx 1285, Memphis approach, roger, descend and maintain 2000. FedEx 981 Heavy, Memphis approach, roger. Southwest 1560, Memphis approach, roger. One question that some people have had before is the little caret symbol next to they're actually in the bottom right of the data block that's cycling with the aircraft type and weight category. That little caret symbol means they're on an RNAV procedure. And I kind of hit on that a little bit because it doesn't necessarily mean that they're RNAV capable. It just simply means that they're on an RNAV procedure. By seeing those, I know that they're on the RNAV arrival basically, and they're not like on a heading direct to the airport or something like that. And that's why it's also important if you're working center to, reflect changes in their flight plan. Like if you put somebody direct Memphis, because if not, it'll show that they're on the they're on the RNAV arrival. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, yeah. I just assume they're descending to, 5 and 6 or whatever. Southwest 1560, descend and maintain 5000. These airplanes do descend quite a bit better than they do in real life. Most of them do. It's pretty crazy how fast they get down. FedEx 1261 Heavy, Memphis approach, roger. FedEx 1285, turn left heading 090.
Memphis approach, hello, FedEx 1261. He called already, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Southwest 1560, turn 10 degrees left, descend and maintain 3000.
10 to the left, descend and maintain 3000. Southwest 1560.
FedEx 1285, turn left heading 030, join 36 left localizer.
030, join the 36 left localizer, FedEx 1285.
FedEx 981 heavy, descend and maintain 4000.
4000, FedEx 981 heavy.
FedEx 1285, Memphis Airport's 11 o'clock in 9 miles.
Insight, FedEx 1285.
FedEx 1285, cleared visual approach, runway 36 left, contact tower 119.7.
Right, clear the visual approach, 36 left, tower 119.7, FedEx 1285.
And once we, hopefully we get the final pushed out just a little bit so we can get some, I think it picks up just a little bit here in just a few minutes so we can actually get a good final going.
I did run the
Southwest 1560, descend and maintain 2000.
2000, FedEx, correction, Southwest 1560.
FedEx 1261 heavy, descend and maintain 5000.
5000, FedEx 1261 heavy.
FedEx 981 heavy, descend and maintain 3000.
3000, FedEx 981 heavy. Memphis approach low, FedEx 9974 heavy, 8000, descending to 3.
FedEx 9974 heavy, Memphis approach, roger, descend and maintain 2000.
2000, FedEx 9974 heavy.
Southwest 1560, turn left heading 030, join the 36 left localizer.
030, intercept 36 left localizer, FedEx, correction, Southwest 1560.
FedEx 981 heavy, turn right heading 330, join 36 right localizer.
330 localizer, 36 right, 981 heavy.
FedEx 1261 heavy, descend and maintain 4000.
4000, FedEx 1261 heavy.
Southwest 1560, Memphis Airport, 11 o'clock in 12 miles.
Insight, Southwest 1560.
Southwest 1560, cleared visual approach, runway 36 left, maintain 170 knots or greater to 5 mile final.
Alright, clear the visual approach, 36 left, 170 or greater until 5, Southwest 1560.
FedEx 981 heavy, Memphis Airport, 12 to 1 o'clock in 15 miles.
Airport in sight, FedEx 981 heavy.
FedEx 981 heavy, cleared visual approach, runway 36 right, maintain 170 knots or greater to 5 mile final.
Alright, clear visual approach, runway 36 right, 170 knots or greater till 5, FedEx 981 heavy. Memphis approach, low Delta 1081 heading 2705,000.
Delta 1081, Memphis approach, descend and maintain 4000.
4000, Delta 1081. Memphis approach, low FedEx 61 heavy, 8300 for 3.
FedEx 61 heavy, Memphis approach, roger. FedEx 1261 heavy, turn left heading 030, join 36 left localizer.
030, intercept 36 left localizer, FedEx 1261 heavy.
Southwest 1560, contact tower 119.7.
Tower 197, FedEx, correction, Southwest 1560.
FedEx 1261 heavy, Memphis Airport, 11 o'clock, 15 miles.
Airport in sight, FedEx 1261 heavy.
FedEx 1261 heavy, cleared visual approach, runway 36 left. Maintain 170 knots or greater to 5 mile final.
Alright, clear visual approach, 36 left, 170 knots or greater till 5, FedEx 1261 heavy.
FedEx 981 heavy, contact tower 119.7.
Tower 197, FedEx, correction, yeah, FedEx 981 heavy. Memphis approach, low FedEx 8, 7400, descending 4.
FedEx 8 heavy, Memphis approach, roger. FedEx 9974 Heavy, turn right heading 270.
Right, 270, FedEx 9974 Heavy.
Delta 1081 to set and maintain 3000.
3000, Delta 1081. Memphis approach, hello, 1266 Heavy, 6000, heading 080.
FedEx 1266 Heavy, Memphis approach, roger. Turn 10 degrees right.
Turn 10 to the right, FedEx 1266 Heavy.
Delta 1081, turn right heading 300.
300, Delta 1081.
Correction, FedEx 9974 Heavy, turn right heading 330, join 36 right localizer.
330, 36 right localizer, FedEx 9974 Heavy.
FedEx 1261 Heavy, contact tower 119.7.
119.7, FedEx 1261. Memphis approach, hello, Envoy 3174, 7200 for 3.
Envoy 3174, Memphis approach, roger. FedEx 9974 Heavy, Memphis Airport, 1 o'clock and 10 miles.
Airport in sight, FedEx 9974 Heavy.
FedEx 9974 Heavy, cleared visual approach, runway 36 right, maintain 170 knots or greater to 5 mile final.
Alright, cleared visual approach, runway 36 right, 170 or greater until 5, FedEx 9974.
Delta 1081 to set and maintain 2000.
2000, Delta 1081.
FedEx 1266 Heavy, reduce speed to 190.
190, FedEx 1266. Memphis approach, hello, FedEx 3621 Heavy, 5000, heading 280.
FedEx 3621 Heavy, Memphis approach, roger. Delta 1081, turn right heading 330, join 36 right localizer.
330, 36 right localizer, Delta 1081.
FedEx 61 Heavy, turn right heading 270.
270, FedEx 61 Heavy.
FedEx 9974 Heavy, contact tower 119.7.
119 or .7, FedEx 9974 Heavy.
FedEx 8 Heavy, turn left heading 090.
090, FedEx 8 Heavy.
FedEx 61 Heavy, descend and maintain 2000.
2000, FedEx 61 Heavy.
Delta 1081, Memphis Airport, 1 o'clock, 12 miles.
Airport in sight, Delta 1081.
Delta 1081, cleared visual approach, runway 36 right, maintain 170 knots or greater to 5 mile final.
Alright, clear visual approach, runway 36 right, 170 or greater till 5, Delta 1081.
FedEx 8 Heavy, descend and maintain 3000.
3000, was that?
FedEx 8 Heavy.
Yeah, FedEx 8 Heavy, down to 3.
FedEx 1266 Heavy, descend and maintain 4000.
FedEx 1266, down to 4.
FedEx 61 Heavy, turn right heading 330, join 36 right localizer.
330, intercept 36 right, localizer, FedEx 61 Heavy.
FedEx 3621, actually disregard.
Memphis approach, hello, FedEx 901, 5000, or 6000 for 3.
FedEx 901 Heavy, Memphis approach, roger. FedEx 8 Heavy, turn left heading 030, join 36 left localizer.
03036 left localizer, FedEx 8 Heavy.
FedEx 1266 Heavy, turn left heading 030, join 36 left localizer.
030, join to 36 left localizer, FedEx 1266 Heavy.
FedEx 61 Heavy, Memphis Airport, 1 o'clock and 13 miles.
Airport in sight, FedEx 61.
FedEx 61 Heavy, cleared visual approach, runway 36 right, reduce speed to 170 to 5 mile final.
170 till 5, clear visual approach 36 right. And who was that for?
FedEx 61 Heavy.
FedEx 61 we got.
FedEx 1201 Heavy, turn 10 degrees right.
10 degrees right, FedEx 61. Sorry, 1201.
FedEx 1266 Heavy, descend to maintain 3000.
3012, FedEx 60.
1266.
Yes, 1266 down to 3.
FedEx 3621 Heavy, turn right heading 330, join 36 right, localizer.
330, join the 36 right localizer, FedEx 3621 Heavy.
FedEx 61 Heavy, contact tower 119.7.
Tower by. Ignore FedEx.
Envoy 3174, turn right heading 270.
270, Envoy 3174. Memphis
FedEx 8 Heavy, Memphis Airport's 11 o'clock and 10 miles.
We got the field in sight, FedEx 8 Heavy.
FedEx 8 Heavy, cleared visual approach, runway 36 left. Maintain 170 knots or greater to 5 mile final.
Clear visual 36 left, 170 or greater till 5, FedEx.
FedEx 3621 Heavy, Memphis Airport, 1 o'clock and 15 miles.
Airport in sight, FedEx 3621 Heavy.
FedEx 3621 Heavy, cleared visual approach, runway 36 right. Maintain 170 knots or greater to 5 mile final.
Clear visual approach 36 right, 170 or greater till 5, there, FedEx 3621 Heavy.
Envoy 3174, reduce speed to 170.
170, Envoy 3174. And sorry for late
FedEx
call,
901 Heavy, turn right heading 270.
270, FedEx 901 Heavy.
FedEx 1266 Heavy, disregard. FedEx 8 Heavy, contact tower 119.7.
Tower, goodbye.
I'm going to try something that probably is going to be pretty tight, but I think we'll be good with 901. FedEx 901 Heavy, turn right heading 280.
280, FedEx 901 Heavy.
And FedEx 901 Heavy, descend to maintain 2000.
2000, FedEx 901.
Envoy 3174, turn right heading 330, join 36 right, localizer.
330, intercept 36 right, localizer, Envoy 3174.
FedEx 1201 Heavy, descend to maintain 4000.
4000, FedEx 1201 Heavy.
FedEx 901 Heavy, turn right heading 340, join the 36 right, localizer.
34036 right, localizer, FedEx 901 Heavy.
FedEx 1266 Heavy, reduce speed to 170 to 5 mile final, contact tower 119.7.
All right, 170 until 5 and contact tower, see.
FedEx 1201 Heavy, turn left heading 030, join 36 left, localizer.
030, join 36 left, FedEx 1201 Heavy.
FedEx 82 Heavy, turn left heading 090.
090, FedEx 82.
FedEx 901 Heavy, Memphis Airport, 1 o'clock, 13 miles.
Field in sight, FedEx 1201.
FedEx 901 Heavy, roger, cleared visual approach, runway 36 right, reduce speed to 190.
All right, clear visual 36 right and speed 190, FedEx 901.
FedEx 3621 Heavy, contact tower 119.7.
Tower 119.7, goodbye.
FedEx 82 Heavy, turn left heading 030, join 36 left, localizer.
030, join 36 left, localizer, FedEx 82.
Envoy 3174, traffic 12 o'clock in 4 miles, northbound heavy MD-11 at 2000, report the traffic in sight.
Traffic is in sight, Envoy 3174.
Envoy 3174, follow the heavy MD-11, cleared visual approach, runway 36 right, caution wake turbulence.
All right, clear the visual approach, runway 36 right, follow the MD-11, Envoy 3174.
FedEx 1201 Heavy, Memphis Airport, 11 o'clock, 15 miles.
All right, airport in sight, FedEx 901. Or who has
FedEx 1201 Heavy, cleared visual approach, runway 36 left, maintain 170 knots or greater to 5 mile final.
At 170 or greater till 5, clear the visual approach, 36 left, FedEx 1201 Heavy.
FedEx 901 Heavy, contact tower 119.7, good day.
119.7, goodbye, FedEx 901 Heavy.
All right, so we're just trickling up here. So yeah, we actually got to see a few good things there towards the end. So you notice like Envoy 3174 now has got the VF in the tab. We got visual following with the plane in front. So he's inhibited, right? Because he's on his own wake separation from the airplane in front. Um, so just kind of show how that worked there. We got to see the yellow and the red. We had it was 1266, I think, and he was kind of running up on somebody in front of him there. But that I don't know what it ended up being there, but yeah, that was good to see that. We saw the warning cone. Of course, he was already talking to the tower, so that's kind of another point, I guess, with the tower controllers there. Is that a lot of times they may be talking to you and you may get that yellow cone as a tower controller. You will see those, and if that's the case, then you kind of have the prerogative to slow that back airplane down or kind of mitigate that. So yeah, I guess that's about it. I think we're all dried out of airplanes there.
Yep.
Cool. Do we have anybody left? Oh my gosh, we have some people left. That's crazy. People actually sat through that. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I didn't have any separation errors that I recall. I'll have to review the tape, but
I'll send it to us soon. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll have to review that one. No, that was good. Just kind of gives you an idea of ATPA. And again, the more benefit it really comes from when you have a long final, because when you're working a final, you're busy turning airplanes, managing speeds, and once you clear these guys, they kind of like, I mean, whether it's intentional or not, they kind of like you toss him out of your memory. Like, oh, he's cleared. He's at final speed. That guy's cleared. He's at final. And you're not really. That's not like your main focus, but it really has to be a focus. I mean, you have to monitor the speed on final and make adjustments as necessary. And so that's when ATPA really shines because it's going to be like a second set of eyes. Not only is it easier to see when you have overtakes or separation that's decreasing, but it also is kind of looking out for you in a sense that, like the other night, I mean, just like real world, a few weeks ago, I forgot to slow a guy to 170. I had him at 190, and my final was out to like 20 25 miles, and I had him at 190. Totally forgot to slow him to 170. I got the yellow cone. I went immediately looked at him. I said, so and so reduce speed to 160. I pulled him back to 160, and I was able to get visually following with him. So that's just one example of how good ATPA can be, because you don't want to forget about something like that, but it can happen, and that's where ATPA comes into play. Anybody have any questions or anything? Yeah, we're giving some people PTSD. So that's
yeah, Joe.
that's understandable. That's understandable.
I see Henry's typing a question as he's typing. I'll say, guess not a question. What I'll say is that I think this is a great tool on the network. It's something that's live in Sweatbox as well, so you'll be using it in your training, and we fully encourage all of you to take advantage of it. Like, the reason why we're asking you to really follow these scratchpad rules to get ATPA to work correctly is so you can use it to your advantage in both the Sweatbox and on the live network. So in your training and on the and in the real or fake thing, this is something that's going to help you out, and yeah, I really encourage you guys to use it.
Yeah, we're really in a good time now for CRC development. We had a pretty a long period of stagnation, I guess, where we weren't really seeing a whole lot of updates. The developers, busy. They have other lives. Obviously, they volunteer their time. But yeah, we're picking back up now on STAR stuff, which is really good. There's a lot of cool features that are coming very shortly in that are being worked on now, that we're going to see like in the near future, like within weeks or months. So a lot of nice features are getting added in that are going to kind of give us better tools more in line with the real world, some more real world functionality. So it's gonna be good.
Yeah. One question I had for you, Cardin.
Yeah.
I know with the new Quick Look Plus functionality in CRC STARS, is that something that tower controllers use to monitor the final? Because I know you don't get track, so you're quick looking the final. Will they use Quick Look Plus usually?
I think it depends on the facility and the controller. I don't know if our tower uses it. I have really only seen it used in one application, and that is really for training. 'Cause a lot of times, if you're training somebody, you may actually sit down at the scope next to them if it's empty, if it's not split off, and some people prefer to do that. And what they'll actually do is they'll use Quick Look Plus to as a way of seeing like who is on frequency, who's been switched, that kind of thing. Because it basically mirrors what the person you're quick looking is doing. Um, as far as like you'll see the white tags for tracks that they own. If they switch them, they'll go green, that kind of thing. So that's really the only time I've really seen it used. But yeah, you could definitely use it as a tower controller if you wanted to quick look plus your final to make the tags white. Then yeah, you could absolutely do that.
Okay. Yeah. So that's another new feature that's been added recently as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Another feature that they're working on is just go along with that is forced quick look, which is similar, but it's similar to a point out in a sense that people can yellow up a tag on another controller scope. We use this a ton real world, and I think it's gonna be in just a few weeks probably. But if I wanted to say, hey, watch that guy, or like, hey, just a heads up, this plane's going to your runway or whatever, I can just do a command and it'll just automatically make it yellow on your scope, and we can talk about it without doing an actual formal point out. It's not really a point out function; it's a forced quick look, as they call it. Or if I'm working final and I'm about to break somebody out, for example, like say we're doing an FNO and I'm working final, I'm like, crap, I got to break this guy out. I may do splat, splat, all, splat, splat, ALL, slew, and that will yellow that airplane up on everybody's scope in the whole facility. And I'll say, hey, I'm breaking that guy out. And that means that, hey, if you're the rival controller, you're stopping your downwind at 4 instead of 3, or at 5 instead of 4, whatever the altitude is you're protecting for that breakout. So that's kind of a useful feature that's probably going to be here shortly.
It's cool. All right. I think if we've got no other questions, or if you don't have anything else, Cardin, I think we're all done.
No, that's all I got. If anyone doesn't have any questions, I appreciate everybody coming out. I know we're kind of down to just a few people in here. I think it's just we got just one guy in here, but no, it was all good. I think that we made good time with that, and we covered a lot of stuff. So hopefully that helped people. We started at 7:30, we're 8:45. So yeah, not bad.
If you have any questions about this or anything else related to this or stars, feel free to ask Cardin, feel free to ask me, feel free to ask any member of the training staff. I'd be happy to help you. But yeah, I think that's it.
All right, cool. We'll see you guys. Y'all have a good night.
All right, see you guys. Bye. Thanks, Cardin.
Yeah. Thank you.